This was in 2008.
Wow.
Now,
Yeah.
in 2008, this was the first time I went there to Cox's Bazar. I went to Kutupalong refugee camp.
Wow.
And up until then, I didn't actually know who the Rohingya were. The only reason I was introduced to them was because I had to shoot this project. And the problem was all the forests around the refugee camps, they were rapidly degrading because, the only thing they had for their livelihood at the time was logging. So they would go into the forest and chop the trees. And I was shocked to hear their stories in 2008. I
Hmm.
was thinking, how is it possible nobody really knows that this is going on, that the Burmese government have for decades been denying these people their basic rights, even though they were clearly from Myanmar. There was nobody, even at the time, it was very clear that these people are Burmese and they're an ethnic group of Burma, and they have been trapped in these camps. So I've always it really shocked me at the time, and I thought to myself, this is a story that I really would like to get deeper involvement in. Um,
When you say that really shocked you, and what shocked you, the story or being there and seeing the camps, and what were the camps like there in 2008? And because
yeah,
before going there myself, I mean it was quite shocking, like really being there and seeing these things. So
yeah,
maybe talk, yeah.
for sure. It was. I was shocked at the level. In Bangladesh we have a lot of poverty, but I was very shocked at the level of poverty that I saw there. I would say that at the time, it was a lot sort of more sparse. So you didn't have the kind of crammed feeling that we have now going to see the camps after 2017, when the largest mass migration happened. Before then, in 2008, really it just felt sort of like a dusty kind of sparse area where you had huts, but you had fields in between. And it was just, like tremendous poverty. And you could feel like the thing that shocked me most going back there after a 10-year, basically I went there in 2008, then afterwards it was 2017 when I went right after the crisis broke out. And it was insane. The whole area has gone from becoming this sort of like sparse kind of shanty town to something that I mean, it feels like the refugee equivalent of like Manhattan, where you're just like everybody's crammed together, and it simply wasn't like that when I saw it in 2008. Um, yeah, it was. It's definitely. I could not believe that it took 10 years, I think, for also the international community to really understand what the Burmese government has been doing, especially because like the violence that broke out was insane in 2017. But the actual policies and everything, they were in place even in 2008. They were in place even before then. This policy of excluding these people entirely from their rights to citizenship. And it's just shocking that, like how people can just know about it and yet do nothing about it. And that's what I felt in 2008 when I interviewed a guy, and he was talking about how even with the Bangladeshi authorities, right, that they sort of they weren't being treated well by anybody on any side, that they felt like they were completely stranded, which they were. I mean, and the only way they could make money, really, their only livelihood was tree felling, or like just like cutting trees, and that's selling the wood for basically nothing. So you would see basically in 2008 like loads just in the morning, a huge group of people going out into the forest, and then coming back just carrying these like chunks of wood, and then they would go and they would sell it, and that's it. You just see this traffic going in and out. Now those forests obviously they don't exist anymore because they've been completely cleared to fit 1 million people. Um, it's yeah, it's staggering the size of it. I mean, when you see the drone footage, it's just
Yeah.
like
So talk about that. I mean, it's like a
yeah,
huge camp. You know.
it's enormous, man. It's absolutely like a city. It's we've got there's so many different camps as well. There's different networks of camps. There's a whole structure of how these camps are organized and managed by it's the Bangladesh Rohingya Repatriation Commission and like the Triple RC they call it, and it's just incredible. On the one hand, I think props needs to be given for sure to the Bangladeshi government for actually welcoming and managing the situation when it was at the peak of its crisis. We were hearing reports of like, people the Navy at the border when the influx was coming in, they ordered the boats to not take money from the refugees that were coming in. A lot of them were not going to take the money themselves out of their sheer humanity, but then it became an actual like a government kind of mandated thing where it's like, no, we need to help these people. This is a crisis.
I didn't know that.
Which is it's like so we got a few interviews with both. When I went down there, spoke to some boatmen. They were also like, and we saw the few army officials there, and I chatted briefly with them. And it's like, when you're put face to face with this kind of tragedy, I think like sometimes like humanity shines. Like you see how people really do care for each other, and this is how it happens. This is there like from both ends, from the Rohingya and the Bangladeshi, and we saw this sort of like it was like a silver lining, being like humanity will prevail. We've gone through this really devastating situation, but we have to overcome this together. And it was a very emotional moment for me to see that